Future me. I hope you start feeling better soon.
Hi, future me. I hope you're doing well. If not, you will be doing better soon. Does that sound like a threat? It is a threat. You're gonna be feeling so good so soon, and there's nothing you can do about it. I've gone off script, but maybe that's for the best. If you're not future me, hi. We're about to get real comfortable. Take what resonates, leave what doesn't. At the very least, kill like 10 minutes. We're in my cozy little room because we're gonna talk about some heavy stuff. So my camera ran out of battery right when I was talking about all the sad shit. So I think that's a sign. So now we're on to the happier part. Getting better isn't going to feel comfortable by any stretch of the imagination. But neither is staying sick. So choose your heart, I guess. The most important things to me: diet, exercise, sleep. Those were the trifecta of all the things that are gonna help you think clearly. But you're probably like, okay, yeah, I knew that. I know I have to get my diet and exercise and sleep in order, but like how the am I supposed to do that when the only thing that gets me out of bed is like almost peeing my pants? So that's where we're gonna start. I feel like it's not a matter of people that are struggling don't know what they need to be doing. You can Google what are good things for what I'm struggling with, and it will tell you all of these things. And when you're like, okay, but how? They're like, oh, just do it. And I'm like, no, that's like the whole problem. I find that a lot of people who struggle like already know what they're not doing that they should be doing. Like no one's like, oh, I didn't know I was supposed to eat food and sleep and move my body. Like we all kind of know that, but I'm not even there yet. Since willpower is inconsistent, we're not gonna be focusing on it. And especially when you try and use willpower and it doesn't work, whatever. Then you kind of give the meanie bobini in your head an excuse to yell at you and call you names. That's counterproductive and will make the day worse. The goal is consistency and reliability. Willpower, inconsistent. So we're gonna have to get a little creative. If you can't outmuscle your opponent, you sure as hell can still outsmart them. Work smarter, not harder, baby. I'm a huge proponent of that. So the name of the game is to start small. Itty bitty. The book Atomic Habits was really the main thing that helped me implement all of these new healthy habits that together helped me get out of my funk and do it in a sustainable and reliable way, and that's the name of the game. So I'm gonna link every single book I read in the description, and maybe with like a little blurb about kind of like what it talks about and maybe like the one main thing that I took from it and I still think about today. Since asking you to go read the whole book is kind of a big ask, I'm going to paraphrase. So let's use washing the dishes as an example. Instead of saying, I'm gonna go wash the dishes, you go, I'm going to wash one dish. That's a lot less pressure than, if you go and you're met with this giant sink full of dishes and you're like, oh my God, but you're like, I just gotta do one. That's a lot easier to start. And then if you're really not feeling up to it, then you stop at that one dish. But sometimes when you start, you realize like, oh, starting was the problem. I feel good and I want to continue now. Like I've gone over that threshold, and you can continue. The rule is if you are consistently not reaching the bar, lower it until you are consistently hitting it. I don't care if you don't like how low that bar is. It has to be consistent. It's not about judgment. We're scientists getting data, right? This is agnostic of worthiness or ability. It's just, I need a guarantee I can hit this bar every day. And then once you do, for a little bit, raise the bar. It's going to be so slow and so small, you're not gonna realize how much you're improving until you kind of look back. Oftentimes doing a tiny task is enough to give you that dopamine boost to get the rest of your tasks done. But this is going to be trial and error. Some days you might go too far and then you're pooped and you're like, oops, I went too far. And some days you can't, you're gonna have to adjust. It's gonna be learning how to listen to your body and trying to figure out, is this a day for me to push myself out of my comfort zone, or is this a day for me to cut myself some slack and relax? Make it as small as you need to for where you are on your journey. And then slowly you can increase it, but we're looking for small wins. So the smallest I think I ever applied it was to getting up off the bed, or like out of bed, off the couch, wherever I had cemented myself. So I'd set a timer for like 10 minutes, and I'd say, it was much more effective for me to say, you have 10 minutes to get yourself off the couch. That was a lot more reasonable than the 0.2 seconds I had been giving myself before, because that was the arbitrary number that I thought everyone could do it. And so I'd have that timer for 10 minutes. And for that 10 minutes, you know, I was like hyping myself up. People talk about positive affirmations, and I think it's really important for mindset shifts. But I'm not like in the mirror being like, you're beautiful, you're successful, okay, maybe now I am. My affirmations would be like, you have excellent control over your mind and body, and you can do what you set your mind to. And like, a lot of people attribute that to like following their dreams. No, I attribute that to, I can literally control my fingers. So I'd go, all right, move your finger. That's it, you don't have to get up. I just want you to move your fingers. And my body would be like, okay. And I'd move my fingers and I'd be like, that was awesome. Wow, you did that so good. I bet you can move your arm. And then I'd wiggle my arms and I'd do a little wiggle. I go, how about you do a little dance? Do a little dance under your blankie. And I do that, and now I'm warming up. I'm warming myself up to get up. And you know, and the timer would go down and I'd have plenty of time, but it was still that time pressure of like, all right, you gotta do it by this time. And it was working. I was tricking myself into getting up. And like, sure, it was in 10 minutes and not in 2 seconds like I wanted it to be, but that's not where I was. And I had to be okay with that. If I had kept shooting for getting up in 2 seconds, I would stay laying down until it was dark again. So I'll take it. Small wins. You know, I consider us all joy vampires. And the key to living a sustainable life is to get really good at sucking the joy out of the marrow of life. You'll find that it becomes easier to find places to insert little pieces of joy, or to be grateful for something that happened that didn't have to happen but was really great. That was important for my journey too, because mindset is huge. I think part of me for a long time didn't want to get better, right? Because that would have meant I could have been better that whole time. And like, I had everything I needed in front of me to be happy. And I just like, if there's a puzzle game and you're like, oh my God, I can't figure this out. And then you look up a hint and it was like right in front of you the whole time. And you're like, no, it's okay. It's okay that you missed it. It doesn't mean that you were wrong in thinking that you were struggling and that it was hard and that you didn't know what to do. But don't resist getting better so that you can be right. There are some people that I know, like, if they have the right of way at a crosswalk, they'll go, even if there's a car barreling down at them, because they'll be like, I have the right of way. If they hit me, they're in the wrong. And I'm like, okay, would you rather be right and dead? And like, I feel like they're like, yeah, I would be right, they're in the wrong, not my fault. But it's still your responsibility to look both ways when you cross, even if you have the right of way. And I feel like a lot of people, when they're sick, they'll go, I'm gonna be sick forever. They don't wanna resist being wrong, almost. I'm saying they, I mean me. This could just be a me thing. And also, like, considering the people that I've lost in that way, I'm like, I was resist getting better because me getting better means that they could have gotten better. Hi. You knew I was talking about sad things. They're emotional support animals for a reason. You want to show your butthole to the camera? We're gonna start an OnlyFans? Resisting, sometimes you can subconsciously resist getting better. And that's gonna take a mindset shift. Being open-minded, which I'm gonna talk about now. Because it's completely possible that you have everything under control. You've got the ideal diet, exercise, you're sleeping 8 hours a day, you've got everything under control, but you're still suffering, which is the shittiest version because you're like, I'm doing everything right. What else can I do? And then you're like, I'm just destined to be sad forever. I'm destined to be sad forever because everything's perfect in my life. I've got the dream life, I've got a beautiful house and a great career and wonderful friends and a wonderful whatever, and I'm not happy. Like, I could have everything. I could get everything I've ever wanted and still be sad and still not be happy with what I have. And I was like, maybe if I chase my dreams and I go for them, one day I have a shot of happiness. No. You gotta find happiness now. I know I just talked about being like a joy vampire and sucking joy out of every little thing in life, but perhaps I'm gonna be a little contradictory to that and say that maybe happiness isn't what people should be striving for. Is happiness truly the meaning of life? Is your own happiness the single most important thing to you? If you had a choice to turn the pain up to 110% for the rest of your life, what would you ask for in return to make it worth it? And there's a million different valid ways to answer this question. And I feel like I have no problem coming up with different things that I would be okay with suffering for. My mindset shifted from like, please God, all I want is to be happy, to like, happiness schmappiness. Who needs it? Not me. I've been getting by fine without it. And then things got a lot easier. I finally gave myself permission to stop making decisions based on what I thought would make me happy and started making decisions on what would build me a meaningful and fulfilling life. And so this helped me get out of my comfort zone. I'm getting out of my comfort zone and trying new things. It's good for me and you. Mwah. I was able to invite people over that I hadn't talked to in a long time and hang out with people and risk looking stupid and silly and start streaming and go back to the gym because, I was no longer chasing whatever made me happy in the moment. I was delaying my gratification for my future life that I wanted. And I wasn't running away from the pain and discomfort I felt. I let myself feel anxious and uncomfortable and scared, and when you stop resisting the feelings and you just let yourself feel them, they tend to go away after a while. Like, if I'm feeling really bummed one night, instead of being like, I shouldn't be feeling sad right now, I'm like, all right, time to put on some sad music and lay in my bed and stare at my ceiling. And then I sit and I cry and I whatever. And then like, you can only do that for so long. Instead of spending the whole day kind of like vaguely bummed, I spend that hour crying my heart out. And then eventually you're like, okay, I'm done. And then you move on. And then you're like, I was running from that this whole time, but it kind of felt kind of good, and maybe I needed it. Getting good at feeling discomfort made it easier for me to listen to my body. I can kind of differentiate between, am I uncomfortable because this is a bad idea? Or am I uncomfortable because I am, and it's okay to feel uncomfortable. It's not fair that you were dealt the cards you were dealt, but tough shit, I guess. And I mean that lovingly, because unfortunately there's nothing you can do about it. So skip all the stages of grief and go straight to acceptance, because we don't got time for that shit. If you think you don't have a reason to live, find one, create one. I don't care. It can be stupid. There's no dumb reason to live. Start small. Instead of being like, I have to live the rest of my life, just be like, let's just get to tomorrow.